Welcome back. How are we doing, traders? And let's get straight into the charts because we don't waste any time on this funny business. If you find value in this content, drop a like below and subscribe because we're doing this every single day, or at least as much as my job allows me to, right? So NEO stock, you have been consistently making these higher legs in price action. You see a bump up, a bump up, a bump up, and then a rounding top-esque formation or a slowing down in bullish momentum. And really what that was is, right, we all know it. It's very clear and evident. You bumped your head on the shelf that is 771. Now, ever since you did that, you closed a cent below 771, and then you saw a rejection candle to the long-term macro trend line that you have been consolidating on top of, finding new areas of support at old areas of resistance. So this is macro very good for the stock. You like to see these kinds of things happen, and these puzzle pieces kind of fit in perfectly, just as we would expect them to with the bullish trajectory of this stock. And what I'm monitoring here on NEO stock is two things on NEO stock that I'm monitoring. The first one being the RSI band and the current location of the RSI and the weekly time frame. We've gone over this multiple times on other tickers, but NEO stock, not quite. NEO stock, we went over the daily in the last video, but the weekly time frame, you've not seen a cross of the weekly band on the RSI since back in June of 2025, and that really launched price into this initial run and began this kind of leg squeeze momentum. Now, what we're looking for on this stock right now is we're looking for a potential swing back to the upside into the weekly bull zone. So above this 70 line on the RSI is what we call the bull zone. Very explosive moves happen when you get above this. You can see back here you entered, you saw a 18% week. You retested the bull zone, and then you saw a 10% week. Just an example, right? I mean, there's multiple different variations of what the bull zone can do. And if you look at the long-term chart on NEO, because I like to see what is the historical reference of the chart to see how the past may affect the future, right? Historically, your last cross into the bull zone, you got a 40% weekly candle. Woo! I mean, just nasty, right? And that was your break. Funny enough, that was going into your break of 771, which is fascinating to me, that this is where the RSI and the stock typically find that topping signal. And once you cross that, guys, that unlocks what I call the bull gates, right? The rodeo begins. So very fascinating stuff here on NEO. What I would expect, and let's just pop into the daily here. What I would expect with the current momentum, whether it be with the China deal, whether it be with the Fed confirming that they're going to cut a quarter point rate, not exactly huge, but every single time that man, Jerome Powell, says rate cuts, typically risk on assets, boom. And it's a beautiful thing to see because, I mean, IWM set up, crypto set up, NEO set up, GameStop, right? AMC, a lot of these risk on assets are sitting in potential break or make areas, make it or break it spots, right? So NEO stock crossed the daily RSI band. Just 2 days ago, you saw a shooting star candle and then a hammer and now a doji on the stock. Now, what does this mean for the stock? Overall, you're trading flat on this trend line, which I don't love to see because every single time you've touched this trend line, boop, boop, right? Boop. So typically trading flat shows signs of weakness. But we have a couple different catalysts that we just talked about. The deliveries of NEO stock, cars, you have the technicals, right? The weekly RSI band that we mentioned. And then additionally, on the 4 hour, you have this kind of nasty, kind of vicious inverse head and shoulders that I can paint out for you guys if you like. Shoulder, head, shoulder. And you're seeing a slow but steady break from this pattern. Theoretically, this pattern should take you up to that 786 range. And so what I'm expecting going forward for the next 2 days, so long as all of the trade talks go well. Of course, take that in mind that there's a very real possibility that our president can tweet something, bam, right? And the whole stock market's down 5%. Not great, but that's the world we live in, right? And that's okay. You just have to learn to adjust and move with the tides. But this inverse head and shoulders pattern theoretically takes you upwards to that $7.80 to $8 range. Now, what is so important about that, ladies and gentlemen? If you're able to do that going into the next 2 days with positive momentum, positive news, you're going to be closing above 771. And that would be your most bullish weekly close probably since here. Just to be 100% transparent, guys, getting above 771 really does unlock these kinds of candles. And what gets me absolutely jacked and excited is once you're above 771, guys, you see the kind of candles that you get, right? Boom. Boom. 40% daily, okay, that's a weekly candle. Still, 40% weekly candles. Those are insane. So that's what we're looking for is a close going into Friday above 771. I am convicted and I am convinced that you are going to test this level in the near-term future. So watch closely, ladies and gentlemen. We are either popping champagne on Friday or we are doom and gloom because that test of 771 is going to be so critical to what the stock does next. In terms of our Weeble outlook on the stock, let's go into just a 4-hour look at it. You got a 4-hour golden cross, which led to this slight pop outside of this down sloping resistance. And I guess you could change the trajectory, right, to look like that. But on the daily time frame, you really don't have that room. That's just the 4-hour. The daily chart, you officially have your breakout. In fact, you closed right itsy bitsy above it, above the trend line. You saw a sharp pop and an intick in volume as you closed above this trend line. Now that is very good for the bulls. And now what you're looking for is that continuation of volume and to break. And I say this again, to break the consolidation that you've seen in volume and price at this range. And I'll give you the example, right? I will give you the example. This trend line says it all. This trend line gives you the down-sloping volume within this stock, showing that volatility has really exited the chat. So it's fascinating to see this. While in a consolidation period, that typically spells bullish. And I'm no betting man, but if I was, I would say that with this breakout, you're going to see a little bit of a ramp up in volume until eventually you make potentially, if this thing is insanely bullish like we believe it is, a higher tick in green volume, just like you did here. And if we're following the trend, you did it here, you did it here, and you did it here. But ever since this candle, I mean, it's been pretty stale. And then volume begins to ramp back up. So I expect that trend to continue throughout this breakout, right? That this volume continues to boom, 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 boom. Because you saw it in the first run. You saw the initial breakout, cooling, bam, cooling, bam, cooling, and then a real ramp up of 1, 2, 3, packed punch, right? 1, 2, 3, weekly candles, just going absurd. And then again, what we're going to cover on the weekly time frame is this golden cross, baby, just looking absolutely filthy. As you can see that this 50-day EMA, The price is holding at obscene levels, right? You've just made recently, in the last 4 months, you've just made an 137% run, y'all. That is not nothing. And what has happened is you got above the 50-day EMA. And this is exactly what I want AMC to do on the daily time frame. Got above the 50-day EMA, consolidated on top of the 50, squoze again, and you've now run so far away from the 50-day EMA that you are kind of sandwiched. You're like a good, solid tuna fish sandwich or meatball sub, whatever your Philly cheesesteak, right? You're like your favorite sandwich. You now have the bread compressing, the bread compressing, the bread compressing. Eventually your meat's going to get squashed. Pause, that sounds kind of weird. But eventually your meat is going to get squashed between these two indicators. And when that happens, price typically sees these slingshots or drawdowns. But typically it's bullish because you have your 200 going into the 50 as price is making higher lows and higher highs. So something we're watching is a weekly cross of these two indicators, the 50-day EMA and the 200, for the first time since you saw it during this squeeze up run. And if that happened, I mean, history rhymes, right? You saw a 412% run up from that first weekly cross. 412 run up. Let's say it happened somewhere above 771, right? That's our conviction. We know in our heart of hearts that that's possible. I got to zoom out for this. Ruh-roh. What's going to happen? Above 771. 412% takes you to around $40, where you have that shelf of price action right around 44. So that could be a potential long-term profit-taking area if you're playing this swing U-shaped accumulation pattern. Looks beautiful, by the way. In case you guys are new to the channel, we have our long-term macro thesis on risk on assets, seeing as so many different tickers, guys, are looking to make their quarterly MACD cross, and just what that means for the stocks in general. It's a fantastic thing to happen in the market overall. And you can see here on the monthly time frame, NEO stock has been on an absolute feverishly tear, like Picasso, right? You're painting a beautiful picture, seeing a 3 white soldiers pattern accompanied with 3 rising volume nodes and then a lower consolidation node in October. It's a beautiful thing. It honestly is an absolute blessing. So if we're able to get above, ladies and gentlemen, if we're able to close the month above 779, what you're going to see is you're going to see this candlestick flip to either a doji or a hammer candle. A green doji or a green hammer candle, in my opinion, takes you directly to our 950 target and continues the stair-stepping bullish momentum and confirms this 3 white soldiers breakout. At least the most bullish increment of it. Quarterly MACD, look how close you are to crossing. And now look what other stocks have done once you crossed. And I'm not saying like that this is going to happen on NEO. It's not financial advice, but just look at what is possible. Look at what is before you. I mean, this could be something as magnificent as the first run of this stock. CHYMC, quarterly MACD cross. You go from freaking $2 up to $9 in a hurry. What else do you got? AMC is one that we've covered religiously because this is exactly like NEO. You just haven't gotten the exact pop yet in volume and price. But you can see here when it did get the quarterly MACD cross, you ran like ape, you know what, like crazy, guys. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating again, is this U-shaped accumulation, somewhere above these swing lows, one of the two. So fascinating stuff. But back to Neo stock. You can see here that these stocks, these risk-on assets that have already accomplished this have absolutely went crazy. So that's what I'm looking for on Neo stock, is if you can replicate some kind of move similar. I hate to say it, and I'm not 100% bought in, guys. I mean, you have me, but you don't. And I say it because if it was going to happen on any stock, the momentum, the conviction, and the community foundation that you guys have formed makes me believe that if you get that MACD swing, Neo 100 isn't so far away. It's not so preposterous, right? To see this bink up to this $100 range. So fascinating stuff, guys. You just need to see bullish momentum continue, fundamentals continue, and for this company to continue to cut costs, expand their top line sales, and innovate in the technology that got them here. So that is what I have for Neo stock today, guys. I wanted to give a quick shout out to my boy Blue Sky, blowing it up with a $10 donation. I seriously appreciate you, dude, because you're in every single video, blowing up the comments, being interactive, saying this is what you think, this is why you think it is exactly why I say that the Neo community is so great, why they are the best, in my opinion, right now, the best undefeated community in the stock market right now, as you guys can see in the comment section. I mean, like, it's crazy. The feedback, the hype, and the momentum we have on this thing. So I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you, brother. It goes a long way. And if you need me to look at anything for you, indicators, technicals, let me know. But that is it for today, guys. For Neo, tune into my next video. It's going to be going over GME, AMC, and potentially crypto. God bless each and every single one of you guys. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.